January 2012. Deep inside a frozen mountain range, an American military reconnaissance team moved carefully through heavy snow. The temperature had dropped far below freezing. Every step became harder. Every breath felt painful. Among the soldiers was Staff Sergeant Ethan Walker, a survival expert known for staying calm under pressure. His mission seemed simple: gather information and return safely before the incoming storm arrived. But within hours, everything would go horribly wrong. What happened next would become one of the most unbelievable survival stories ever told. Ethan and his team climbed higher into the mountains while dark clouds covered the sky above them. The radio operator warned the group that weather conditions were becoming dangerous. But turning back was difficult. The mountain paths behind them were already disappearing under thick snow. Suddenly, the wind exploded across the cliffs. Snow blasted into their faces. Visibility disappeared almost instantly. The soldiers struggled to stay together, shouting through the storm. But nature was stronger than all of them. Then came the sound nobody wanted to hear. A deep roar echoed through the mountains. Ethan looked up and saw an avalanche crashing toward them. Within seconds, tons of snow smashed into the team with unstoppable force. Ethan was thrown violently down the mountain. His body hit rocks and ice before darkness finally swallowed everything. Hours later, Ethan slowly opened his eyes. Snow covered his face. His head was bleeding. His left arm burned with pain. For a moment, he could not understand where he was. Then reality hit him. The avalanche had separated him from his team. Ethan screamed for help. Again and again. But the mountains answered only with silence. He checked his equipment carefully. His radio was destroyed. Most of his supplies were gone. All he had left was one survival knife, a damaged lighter, 2 energy bars, and a half-empty water bottle. The sun was already disappearing behind the mountains. Ethan understood something terrifying. If he did not build shelter before nightfall, he would freeze to death before morning. Using his military training, Ethan gathered broken branches and packed snow together to create a small survival shelter beside a large rock wall. His fingers were becoming numb from the cold. Every movement felt slower. As darkness covered the mountains, temperatures dropped even lower. Ethan desperately tried to light a fire. Once. Twice. 10 times. Nothing worked. The wind kept killing the flame before it could grow. Then finally, a tiny spark survived. Ethan carefully protected it with his hands until a small fire slowly came alive. That little flame became his only protection against the deadly mountain cold. But sleep never came easily. Throughout the night, strange sounds echoed across the wilderness. Wolves. Somewhere in the darkness. They were watching. Days passed. Ethan's food disappeared quickly. By the 4th day, he had nothing left to eat. Hunger weakened him more and more each morning. Still, he refused to give up. He melted snow over fire to create drinking water. He built simple traps using pieces of wire from broken equipment. Sometimes he caught small animals. Sometimes he ate absolutely nothing for days. The mountains tested him constantly. Sharp ice cut through his boots. His lips cracked from dehydration. His hands slowly suffered frostbite. At night, loneliness became even worse than the cold. Ethan thought about his family back home. He wondered if rescue teams were still searching for him, or if everyone already believed he was dead. But every morning, he forced himself to stand up and keep moving. Because deep inside, Ethan believed one thing. As long as he kept fighting, he still had a chance to survive. On the 14th day, Ethan noticed something unusual far across the mountains. Smoke. Thin gray smoke rising into the sky. It could mean people, shelter, rescue. But between Ethan and the smoke stood a deadly frozen cliff. One mistake would send him falling hundreds of feet into the valley below. Slowly, Ethan crossed the narrow, icy path. The freezing wind pushed against his body with incredible force. Ice cracked beneath his boots. Suddenly, Ethan slipped. His body slammed against the edge of the cliff. Somehow, one hand grabbed onto a frozen rock. Below him was nothing but emptiness. Exhausted and starving, Ethan hung above death itself. For several seconds, he almost let go. But then he remembered why he had to survive. With every ounce of strength left inside him, Ethan pulled himself back onto the cliff. After crossing the mountain, Ethan finally reached the source of the smoke. Hidden deep inside the forest stood an abandoned hunter's cabin. Inside, he found old blankets, dry wood, and several cans of food left behind years earlier. For the first time in weeks, Ethan felt hope return. He rested beside the fire and allowed his body to recover. On the cabin wall, he wrote a message in case rescuers ever arrived. Still alive. Still fighting. But Ethan still had no idea if anyone was searching nearby. Then, on the 27th day, Ethan heard something impossible. A helicopter. He rushed outside the cabin waving a torn piece of cloth into the air. The helicopter circled above him once. Then slowly began descending. Rescue teams had continued searching for nearly a month despite terrible weather conditions. When rescuers reached Ethan, they were shocked. He had lost over 15 kilograms. His body was badly damaged by frostbite and exhaustion. But against all odds, he was alive. Staff Sergeant Ethan Walker's survival story later spread across military communities around the world. His experience became proof that the human spirit can survive even the darkest situations imaginable. Because sometimes, strength is not about weapons or power. Sometimes, strength is simply refusing to quit. If you enjoyed the survival documentary, subscribe for more unbelievable true stories